Okay, so in this video I'm going to go over the two options that I use in terms of closed captioning as a single speaker. So option number one, which is the easiest thing to do, is of course if somebody else does the closed captioning for you, which is always nice. Now, the way that I approach this is because I am an educator, so I can send off a link to my video, which is typically the link from YouTube, to somebody within my institution that will then pass it on to maybe a third party, and they will generate something which is called an Srt Extension File. So Srt just stands for subtitle, as you can see there. And all this is simply a file that closed captions your entire video, which then you can upload onto YouTube. Now, there is a lag time in terms of course, if you send someone your link, it's not going to be instantaneous that you're going to get this file back. Now, this file, the Srt file, is the most popular of its kind. Now, you also may not be as lucky that you are in an institution. You might have to actually send it off and pay someone to do it. But if you are an institution, I highly encourage you to try to seek out somebody who does provide closed captioning, because many institutions have closed captioning mandated as educators post their videos. So in any regards, if you do get this Srt file at some point back, and you're lucky enough to have it, of course you have to now load it onto YouTube. So I will post a video, okay, and I'm going to provide in the notes, okay, under this video, a link on how to load this Srt file into YouTube. So I'm not going to generate it here because it's going to make the video too long. I just want to give you the two options that I use for closed captioning. Okay, so I'll provide that particular video and the link to it. Now, the other option is, if you're not lucky enough to have someone else do this video for you, or the closed captioning for you, then you're going to be stuck and you're going to have to self-edit. Now, self-editing and learning how to do it is not a bad thing, because of the fact that sometimes, even if you do have somebody who can close caption videos for you, the lag time to get the Srt files might be too long. So if you're posting up for students or for somebody else that you would want to post your video the next day or in 2 days, sometimes learning how to self-edit videos which are a little bit shorter in length is super useful. Okay, so the self-editing, I will also post a video, okay, how to self-edit in YouTube, and I'm going to provide the link, okay, as well in these subnotes that you will see at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to provide the link to that on how to self-edit YouTube closed captioning. But before before you go off and try these on your own and watch them, I do want you to think about a few guidelines with regards to making these self-edited closed captioning videos. I am not an expert in closed captioning by any means, okay? So it is a bit of an art, and you have to spend quite a bit of time to try to learn it. But the more videos you do, you will get a little bit better. And there are particular guidelines that you can start off with, especially as a single speaker and someone who does not have very complicated videos, which you can do quite well on your own. And unfortunately, the YouTube ideas that are provided and the closed captioning that is done is not up to the standards, okay, that we need. So let me provide you some of the guidelines to keep in mind, and I'll show you what I mean by them. Okay, so number one, you, as a speaker, when you're self-editing, you should always introduce yourself. So who the speaker is, okay? And in order to show you, so I'm gonna just glance back down here. So what you're staring at is one of my videos that I have, and notice that right in the beginning, okay, so the first captioning is that I introduce myself right there. And you only have to do it once. Notice that it doesn't appear anywhere else because you're a single speaker, okay? If you have multiple speakers, then this video is not for you, okay? So I am only talking about single speakers in terms of closed captioning. So that's it. That's the introduction. That's what you would have to do. And as you can see that, okay, that is done in the editor on the left-hand side, which I will show in a separate video, okay? Number two, the second thing that you should keep in mind is that you should synchronize with the audio. So what does that mean? It means that whatever you are going to type in, okay, so for instance, as we're starting off, okay, so our first closed captioning, so this multiplication of integers, okay, and you see that right here. The synchronization means that the timing, okay, is relevant to the video as you're speaking through the video, so that it's not off, okay? So you're synchronizing your times, and you're gonna be able to edit these times right here, okay? And again, that's something that I'll show in the actual video. So that's second guideline that you should keep in mind, synchronizing, okay, with audio. So it's not just at random. Number three, something that you should keep in mind is use sentence structure, okay? Okay, or case. Now, this seems sometimes a little bit silly, okay, because when you're talking through a video, it's very rare that you're going to be completely grammatically correct in the same way as you would be writing an essay, a speech for some kind of an audience, or any other guidelines or any other type of written material is not going to be the same. So using sentence case and using punctuations will be something a little bit odd for you. Okay, and notice this is something that you actually see right off in the first caption. You would never start, okay, your sentence, so multiplication of integers, and then you'd put a period there. However, you have to try your best, okay, to try to make these things sentence case sensitive, and make sure you have punctuations in terms of periods so that the reader, okay, can follow you in the video a little bit easier, okay? So that is very useful for them, okay? And you will notice that all of these are kind of structured, okay, as sentences. Now, they're not the greatest of sentences, but they do give the reader some sense of what is happening. And then there's commas, okay, and punctuations. So that's something to keep in mind. It can't be just word by word like YouTube does, because that doesn't allow the reader to properly follow. You do not want them to be reading word by word, okay, the subtitles. Okay, you want someone to be able to see kind of two lines at a time of a closed caption, and then see what you're doing in the video, okay? So that is important, okay? So punctuations and sentence case as you're going through. The next item is you do not want your captions to be too long. Okay, and in fact, you should kind of keep them at a maximum of 26 to 32 characters per line. Okay, this is per line, and moreover, do not go over 2 lines. So just keep them at 2 lines so it's easy on the eyes to view them and still be able to watch the video. Okay, so what we mean here is that if you have, okay, so if this is your first line, second line, okay, those lines should not exceed kind of the 32 characters per line. Okay, so that's what should happen. Now you're noticing maybe in these captions, Okay, so something number 5. This is not always something that everyone abides to, but you should kind of pyramid up, okay, your line structures as you're going through. And let me just explain this. Okay, so below here, what we mean, and I'm going to erase this so it's a little bit easier to see. So notice that this is pyramiding upwards, okay, where the first line is a little bit less than the second line. And it's also centered. However, the centering, you do not have to worry, because as you can see in the editor, they're not centered. You just write as you normally do, okay? And then the centering is actually done by the YouTube editor, okay? So it does it for you automatically. So the centering, you won't have to worry in YouTube, okay? But you do have to kind of keep the lines so that they're pyramiding upwards. It's a little bit easier for the viewer to read. And this is not mine. This is something that I have learned, okay? And the last thing that I'll mention, so if you can keep all of these things, great, especially in the beginning. The last thing I'll mention is, okay, so I'm going to scroll down here because I took a snapshot of this. And I have learned quite a bit, okay, and I continue to go back. Many people know Khan Academy, and they have made many videos, especially science or math related videos, so if anyone is using those, okay, and they have created, okay, so these Khan Academy Captions Standards Guide, okay, so I will provide, so Standards Guide, I'm going to provide a link, okay, in the notes to this, and this is a snapshot of it. So for anyone, for example, in math, okay, you know, it gives you some really nice rules, okay, of, you know, when you should write out numbers, okay, and when you should just write out, okay, in terms of words or the numbers themselves. And it gives you some examples right here. This guide is not that long, okay, so the guide is actually, I think it's less than 10 pages, and I think at maximum, I think maybe 8 or 7. So it's very readable, and you can go through it. And yes, it's very hard to learn all the rules, but slowly over time, if you create more and more videos and closed caption them, you will get better. Just like anything else, just like our students, when they start off and they don't understand things, it takes them a long time. Same thing with us. If you want to get better at these closed captionings, you're gonna have to do them, okay? And slowly you can pick up more and more rules. But I would say if you start off with these, so that they're, especially for simple and short videos, you know, you're going to help the reader quite a bit in terms of closed captioning, okay? If you cannot have someone provide you the kind of professionally done files for closed captioning, okay? So these are really the only 2 ways that I use closed captioning. Either I'm lucky enough to get it, someone does it, or I am forced, okay? And sometimes I want to be able to close caption on my own, okay, and self-editing. Okay, so I will post the 2 videos on how to load the SRT if you are able to get it from someone, and I'll post another video with these guidelines and kind of going through how to edit, okay? I'll edit a few of the captionings so that you can see this thing in action. Okay, great. Hopefully this was useful and you kind of have an idea of the 2 possible ways of closed captioning.